Hey boo, welcome to the Forever Feminine, the channel where we turn our life lessons and those L's into a feminine level up. And today I have a question for you. What happens when being pretty and being desired just isn't enough? Want to find out the answer? Stay tuned. Now, over the last few years, the topic of pretty privilege has been at the forefront of many discussions, from the many Twitter posts to the TikTok videos and the countless videos on YouTube, right? But if you're someone who's totally new to the subject and not really sure what it is, here's a quick definition thanks to My Imperfect Life. So it says here that pretty privilege works on the principle that people who are deemed more attractive based on societal standards have an upper hand in the world and are afforded many opportunities that us regular folks just don't have. Now, no matter what side of this argument you side with, whether you think it's true, whether you think it's false, or whether you think you have it or don't have it or want more of it or want to participate or whatever side you're on, there is one thing that remains certain. We undeniably live in a visual society. And if you do indeed fit the perception of beauty that someone prefers, you will reap the benefits of that, period. This isn't one of those debates about what society views as beauty. This is simply a quote unquote beauty is in the eye of the beholder type of situation, right? Just my opinion. So when you do take it into consideration that pretty privilege does exist to some capacity, it is imperative to note that when you're actually looking to create a quality connection or a quality relationship with somebody, this particular privilege really doesn't carry that much weight. Now, while you will be put into a space to be desired if you have pretty privilege, you'll be put into a space to be lusted after if you have pretty privilege, and you'll even be put in a space to be the forefront of many men's fantasies, right? But this does not negate the fact that just being pretty alone does not afford you the luxury of having a healthy, sustainable relationship. Now, we can all be honest and say that we have seen the evidence of this play out in front of us countless times in the media, like literally y'all, more times than we can count, right? Like in being the witnesses of these particular things play out, how many times have we said to ourselves or said to our friends or whatever the case may be, we've said things like, dang, if she got cheated on, then man, I don't stand a chance. There's no hope. Or wow, she's so pretty. She's so beautiful. She's breathtaking. She has it all, but she can't keep a man. Now, when I say I cannot stand these comments because they don't carry any weight either, because at the end of the day, we all know that just being pretty, being a quality woman, or even being everything a man could possibly dream of has never, will never keep a man that does not want to be kept. Period, point blank. Pretty privilege is just one of those things that may put you into an entryway into the desirability Olympics. And we know that with many competitions, many women just won't make it that far. You just won't. And that is simply because being pretty and being desired does not equip you with the skills that you need or the life lessons that you need in order to really be able to pick a partner. And these are some of the things that we can point out from that. So pretty privilege does not give you the ability to discern the qualities of a good partner. Pretty privilege does not give you the ability to exempt yourself from the mistreatment of a man who is an adulterer. Pretty privilege does not give you the ability to place yourself on a pedestal free from the infamous behavior of a dusty ass man. In order to level up and build a life that we can be happy with, we really have to start holding ourselves accountable. I mean, gone are the days of hanging on to every word that a man utters to us. Gone are the days of thinking we can somehow change his behaviors. And even gone are the days of falling in love with a man's potential to love you correctly. There are ways to be pretty with power, to live your life with confidence, and to know your value in relationships. I believe that as women, once we get to a point or even a certain age where we have a bit of dating experience under our belt, we can all honestly say that there's been a point where we've done something dumb behind a man. And I'm definitely raising my hand when I say this, because like I said before, there have been times, in my past personally, and I'm sure for all of us listening, that we look back and say, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Or, ooh, I'm gonna just have to take that L and keep it moving, right? Because this is definitely not one of those platforms where we're going to point our finger and laugh at the pain of another woman, because we've all been there at some point in some capacity, whether it's high or low, right? So moving on, this is a safe space where we can literally turn our losses into a level up, like I said at the beginning of this video. So here are a few tips that we can take away and that we can practice when we want to allow a man into our space, right? So tip number 1 is going to be simply nurture your discernment. As women, we have that innate ability to listen to our gut. When we get those gut feelings, it's like, ooh, something's off. And we're usually right most of the time. But there is a way to, even heighten this power even further. And that is when you nurture yourself from a spiritual perspective. Whether that's going to be praying more often, meditating more often, getting in tune with yourself, practicing listening to yourself and not ignoring that voice. And if you want to go deeper into ways on how you can cultivate your feminine or cultivate your femininity more and your feminine intuition more, I go into that into detail into my Cultivate Your Feminine video. I'll link it somewhere on the screen, and it'll also be in the description box below if you want to check that out. Tip number 2 is going to be to get clear on what you want from a relationship and ensure that you are properly vetting men to understand whether or not they're going to be a good choice for you, period. Because I think there are a lot of times where women, and especially Black women in this instance, we're guilted into settling for men because they're the quote unquote good guy, or they have good qualities, or they got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But do you like him? Does he fit your standards? Is he going to be a good fit for you going forward? Because at the end of the day, who has to sleep with this man? At the end of the day, who has to deal with this man on a daily basis? You. So don't let anybody guilt you into making the best decision for yourself. Okay. If you decide that a situation is not going to be good for you, what you can do is exit stage left with grace. Okay. All right. So number 3 is going to be to pay attention to the signs. This one is a huge one. I honestly should have made this one number 1, because a man will always show you who he is. And once he does this, sis, listen closely, turn the volume up a little bit, believe him. And I say that with so much love, because it is not your responsibility to help him become a better man. And you don't have what it takes to change him. I have to keep it 100% real. That is strictly on him. And when you notice that a situation is toxic, what can you do? Exit stage left with grace, of course. We want to practice our femininity by protecting our peace at all costs. It's simple. And finally, number 4 is going to be to get comfortable with your pretty. It is your responsibility to nurture your beauty. It's your responsibility to build your confidence, and it's your responsibility to value what you bring to a relationship. And you do this because you don't want to get lost in those empty compliments. You don't want to get lost in those empty words that a man is pouring out to you because you've never heard it, or you've never told it to yourself, or you've never felt it for yourself, because this is going to cause you to get caught up, like I said before, in his potential or in his inability to back up those things with actions, right? So when you nurture your pretty, when you get comfortable with your pretty, you're able to say like, oh, well, thank you. I know I'm pretty. I know I'm beautiful. I know I'm, one of the most interesting women you've ever met, or whatever the case may be, or whatever they're trying to throw out at you. You can accept that compliment, but is he going to back up all of those words with actions that exemplify what a man would, or not what, but how a man would treat a woman he feels that way about, right? Because I think a lot of times that's where we get lost. We get lost in that potential. We get lost in those words. And then we look up years later and it's like, well, where's the action? Why am I still sitting here in this space, right? So get comfortable with your pretty, know the value that you bring, and get comfortable walking away from a situation that doesn't match up to what the words are saying, right? And what can you do finally? Exit stage left. With grace, of course. I'm sure that by now you guys are understanding the trend. But with that being said, those are all of the tips that I had for today. I just wanted to kind of bring that conversation to the forefront and realize that pretty privilege is definitely a thing, whether you believe it is or not. But what it's not going to do is it's not going to sustain a relationship. It's not going to sustain a healthy relationship. And it's really just the entryway. Okay, that's going to be it for today's video. If you made it this far, type "I'm pretty" with power and add your favorite emoji. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe and remember to keep it fancy, keep it fabulous, and always forever feminine. Later, loves.